If there's one company and funding portal out there in equity crowdfunding that's been hot on the heels of WeFunder, it's StartEngine. Today, we're going to take a look at everything that investors need to know about investing on StartEngine, and we'll be doing a complete walkthrough of the platform showing you all the different features. This is Brian from Crowdwise. Let's take a look. As of December 2019, StartEngine is the second leader in terms of crowdfunding platforms. It's behind WeFunder in terms of the amount of capital raised. However, StartEngine has actually had slightly higher deal flow throughout the year of 2019, which is the highest of all the portals. So today we're going to give an overview and a review of the StartEngine platform for both investors and founders, and then stay tuned for the next video where we're actually going to dive in and show a demo of the platform. So some highlights in terms of 2019 and what StartEngine has done. As I mentioned, they're number one in terms of funding portals, all the funding portals out there for crowdfunding in terms of Form C filings. That means the number of companies they offer. In addition, they're number two in terms of capital raised. And one of the things that helps with that, right behind WeFunder, of course, is that they don't do deal curation. They don't do additional due diligence. So WeFunder and StartEngine are two of those portals that only basically do the bad actor, anti-fraud, anti-money laundering checks, the basic things that are required under regulation crowdfunding, whereas other platforms like Seed Invest and Republic will go in and do additional due diligence and do deal curation. So StartEngine is not one of those. Because of that, they potentially can offer more deals, which is probably why they are one of the two top platforms today. StartEngine itself was founded in 2014. They are based out of Los Angeles. And in addition, in 2019, they actually just got their registered broker-dealer license. What this means is that you're going to start seeing more Reg A+, Regulation A+ offerings. Those are the ones that can go up to 50 million, being able to accept credit cards and just more flexibility in terms of the platform. One of the best things for investors, though, is that StartEngine has mentioned that they're actively and openly working on a secondary trading platform called StartEngine Secondary. This will basically give liquidity to investors like you and me, where if I buy shares in a certain company on StartEngine and say a couple years in, for whatever reason, they're still private, they haven't had a liquidity event or an exit, but I need to get my money out, this gives me an option to be able to trade those shares that I purchased in this private company to another investor prior to them going public or having any other type of liquidity event. So it gives that possibility of additional liquidity, but it's definitely also interesting because it means if you missed out on a deal and you didn't know about something a couple months ago and now you want to invest, now you may be able to invest through the secondary platform. So there's no timeline right now. They haven't mentioned when it's going to be released, but stay tuned for that. Hopefully we'll get some updates in 2020. Lastly, but not least, one of the big highlights of StartEngine is that you can get the 10% owner's bonus. What this means is if I was investing in a deal, say $100, and if I'm a StartEngine owner, meaning I've invested through the Reg A+ campaign in StartEngine itself and met a certain dollar threshold, I actually get 10% bonus shares. So if I'm investing $100, I'd potentially get $110 of equity value, whether it's a safe or potentially in common or preferred stock. This can be very good for investors who would be investing anyway. It shouldn't be a reason to invest on the StartEngine platform. You still want to make sure you're screening deals that are meeting your criteria, but it is a potential benefit for investors. In terms of capital raised in 2019, StartEngine is number two, right there behind WeFunder. And in terms of Form C filings, which is basically the number of companies that have raised on the StartEngine platform, you can see in green here that StartEngine has been one of the leaders, not only in 2019, but prior to that as well. They've usually been number one in terms of Form C filings. So let's get into the quick pros and cons and unique things on the StartEngine platform. In terms of pros, first, as we mentioned, deal flow. They've had 108 deals in 2019 through the end of October, whereas WeFunder had 103, so both of them are up there in terms of the top two for number of offerings to investors. In addition, I mentioned the owner's bonus. So if you're a StartEngine owner, which means you're an investor in StartEngine, the company itself, you actually get 10% bonus shares on all qualifying investments. So that can be a nice boost if you would be investing there anyway. Also, as I mentioned, a registered broker-dealer as of 2019. So StartEngine will be working more on the StartEngine secondary trading platform. In addition, this will allow them to provide a more full suite of tools to both the companies and the investors that invest on the StartEngine platform. Now, in terms of cons, the biggest con of the StartEngine platform right now is really for startups themselves, and that's that they have slightly higher fees than a platform such as WeFunder. So on WeFunder, if an investor invests in your company, that investor has to cover a 3.5% fee if they're investing with a credit card. Now, if you invest on StartEngine, the companies typically are paying that fee. So it can so the fees can range from 7 to 12% of the final amount raised, plus there's a $10,000 service fee. However, I will say I'm starting to see that change where some of the companies now are charging investors to cover some of those transaction fees for credit cards. So keep an eye on this, but right now, the state of things, it is a little bit more expensive. Now, in terms of neutral, this is again similar to WeFunder and what I mentioned at the beginning. There's no extra due diligence or deal curation. That means that investors have to do more due diligence on the companies because they're not necessarily good investments. If they're posted on the platform of StartEngine, it really just means they met those bare minimum requirements to raise under regulation crowdfunding. And so investors still need to make sure that it makes financial sense. Lastly, for unique offerings of the platform, as we mentioned, the biggest unique offering for StartEngine is that 10% owner's bonus. In addition, though, StartEngine just recently, at the end of 2019, rolled out StartEngine Wallet, where it will be able to allow you to take disbursements of your funds or your companies that do successful, as well as eventually in the future trade on that StartEngine secondary platform, which is in development, so keep your eyes out for that as well. Platform summary in terms of the numbers. So they disclose that they have over 200,000 investors. This is up there. WeFunder says over 300,000. So it's up there with the top portals. As we mentioned, deal flow in 2019, they've had 108 deals so far. That was through the end of October. And in terms of capital raised through the end of Q3, they raised 20.5 million, which is the second most of all the funding portals, again, ranking them right behind WeFunder. As we mentioned, no due diligence or deal curation. Investor fees typically are, it's going to be zero for most of the deals, but I am starting to see credit card fees being put more on the investors recently. So depending on the deal, and as we'll show in the demo and walkthrough, it varies deal to deal. As we mentioned, those issuer fees are going to be a little bit higher depending on if you accept credit cards and all those things. It can range anywhere from 7 to 12% of the total amount raised, plus that $10,000 service fee. Unique incentives is that 10% owner's bonus if you're a StartEngine owner. Secondary market is in development, and you can invest with a credit card on StartEngine. That covers the introduction of the StartEngine platform and a quick review. Check out that next video as we're going to do a deep dive and actually log into the platform and help you navigate and answer questions about where to find things on StartEngine. This is Brian from Crowdwise. In order to get your free comparison checklist, head over to crowdwise.org/portals. Thank you for watching. I'll see you back here for the next lecture.